going to be my Prime Nexus 4 1-year review. So I've had this bow for a year now, and I absolutely love it. There are pros and cons to everything. We'll go through the pros and cons that I have with this. Cons are very minimal. So the Prime Nexus 4 is 34 inches axle to axle. It's got a 6-inch brace height. The speed is 345 feet per second. Now everybody knows that those speeds generally are slightly exaggerated with every bow company. That's with a 350 grain arrow. They're getting speeds saying of 345 feet per second. Most bows don't quite reach the speeds that are put out. For me, speed is not necessarily something that I really care for. I don't buy a bow based off of their speed. I don't pick one over the other based off of their speed. I am generally shooting mine in a hunting situation anywhere from 20, 30, 40 yards. I'm generally not shooting any farther than that. I'm usually in a tree stand or a ground blind. So in terms of flat trajectory and fast speed, I'm not really into that. I do shoot heavy arrows, so my speeds with a bow like this with the arrow that I shoot, I usually shoot anywhere between high 500s, so around 560, 580 to low 600s, 605-ish. I generally stay between the 580 and 605 grains. Just my personal preference. And so a bow like this, shooting 345, I'd probably get somewhere between 250 to 260 feet per second, which is perfectly fine by me. The bow weighs 4.4 pounds, and one thing I did notice picking this up compared to other bows is how incredibly light it is. It feels lighter than 4 pounds. It definitely feels lighter than 4.5 pounds. I think that comes down to a lot of the materials that are used. This is 82X aluminum, which is the strongest aluminum on the market. And again, extremely light. Carrying this around in the woods or lifting it up with a rope and tree stand, even with a full 5 arrow TightSpot quiver, it still was very manageable and did not feel like I was carrying a suitcase around out in the woods. Now the balance with this bow is second to none. It is absolutely incredible. I'm not sponsored by anybody, so I don't want you to think that I'm tooting Prime's horn because they're paying me, because they're definitely not. I'm not getting sponsored by anybody, and this bow itself is absolutely incredible. When I first drew it back and held it on target, it didn't move. It was completely steady, and I think that has, again, a lot to do with the technology and what Prime has put into this bow. In terms of the grip is in the center of the riser. So you have less space on the top of the riser from the bottom, but the grip is always in the center with the Primes. That's their center grip technology, and it is rock solid when you're holding it on target. It doesn't want to move. I think the best way that I can describe it is when I first picked it up and drew it back and held on target, it was like holding a hammer upside down. I've said that before, but I think that's the best way to describe this. It's got a wider platform on the bottom, and it feels like the majority of the weight is on the bottom, even though the top cam is larger than the bottom cam, simply to take up the amount of string, because there's less string on the top half than there is on the bottom based on where the grip is. But it feels like the weight is focused on the bottom of the riser, which allows you to hold steady on target, and the balance is absolutely incredible. Going back to the grip, this grip, in the past, Prime's had they haven't had a rubber grip over top of the riser. You've generally been holding on to the riser itself. This grip is their nano grip. It is fairly thin. It's got a great contour to it. My hand specifically feels very comfortable in it. I know there's other bows that I've picked up where I've automatically put them down because the feel of the grip in my hand has not been super comfortable. I definitely noticed that with when I was shopping for my first bow. I picked up the a Matthews, I think it was the Verdicts at the time, and I'm not knocking on Matthews. It's either one way or the other. You either like a bow's grip or you don't. And I found that with the Matthews, as soon as I put my hand in there, I didn't want to hold it. It didn't feel super comfortable for me for my hand. I've got a very large hand. The Hoyt was different. I picked that up and it immediately felt comfortable and suited me better. This is very similar to that. It's a very repeatable grip. It does have a little bit of grooves on it here, but the best part about this grip that drew me into this bow, one of the couple of reasons that drew me to this, not only because I wanted a prime, but because this grip has underneath it something that's called aerogel. And aerogel was created by NASA. They put it as insulation inside of spacesuits to regulate the heat for the astronauts. So what happens is this. Underneath this grip, there are a couple of grooves that were cut out, and the aerogel is stuffed into the grooves, and then this sits over this rubber plastic grip goes over top. And what happens is the longer you hold on to the bow, the heat transfers from your hand into the grip and is held on by the aerogel, keeping the grip at a warm temperature. Now, the longer you hold on to it, the more heat goes into it, the more comfortable it's going to be. If you have ever held a aluminum hunting bow in the wintertime or when the temperature starts to drop, you will know exactly what I mean. It is like grabbing on to an icicle. It is freezing. And if you don't like wearing gloves when you're shooting, I can shoot with and without gloves. I prefer to not wear gloves. That can be a problem. It can be very uncomfortable in your hands. This was a very good selling factor for me because I do generally hunt in the cooler temperatures, and October through to December, so that was an important factor for me, and it definitely does work. I can say for a fact that the aerogel and this nano grip are incredible, and they do work. Draw cycle. When choosing a bow, you really have to go out and shoot as much as you can because every company is going to have a slightly different cycle than the next. My experience with compound bows has been between a Hoyt and this Prime. I didn't shoot very many other things simply because I am right-handed but left-eye dominant, so I shoot left-handed. The problem with that is that most stores do not carry left-handed bows in general. The odd time they'll have one or two, but especially when a new product comes out, it is extremely difficult to get your hands on a left-handed bow when the new bows come out. It's in both of these cases, when it was the Hoyt that I purchased first in 2019, I had to order that simply from picking up and feeling a right-handed one but not being able to shoot it. So I can only compare the draw cycles between these two because that's generally the Hoyt and the Prime are the two that I've been shooting. The Hoyt has a bit of a dump into the valley where you're pulling back, and then it just, you can really feel the cam turn over. This is completely different. This is stiff from the beginning. From the very beginning of your pull, it is stiff, and as you're drawing back, I was waiting for that dump to happen, and all of a sudden, I was into the back wall. There's no humps or dumps or drop-offs into the valley. It's simply you're drawing back, and then all of a sudden the draw stops, flip over, the string stops, flip over, and you're there, and you're holding on target. It was incredible. I love it. It's which goes to show you every bow is different. I'm not knocking Hoyt at all. I'm just saying that every bow is different. So you really need to get out there and try as many as you can and see what you like the best or what suits you the best. This is very balanced. There are some bows that might feel more top heavy than the other. It's all personal preference, and it all depends on what you're looking for and what your expectations are. Now, vibration. I think no matter what bow you choose between now and in the last 10 years, I could say, with the technology the way that it is, you're going to have a stellar piece of technology in your hands. The bows have made small incremental changes over the years, but nothing substantial to the point where it's earth-shattering. Yes, there are some years that are way above the year before, but in terms of overall technology, if you were to pick up a bow anywhere from the last 8, 9, 10 years, you're going to have an amazing piece of equipment in your hands. I don't feel very much vibration with this bow, or any bow that I shot for that matter. I don't feel very much at all to the point where it's bothering me whatsoever. So to me, there's absolutely little to no hand shock after the shot with this bow. The back wall is incredibly, incredibly stiff. Now, some bows have cable stops that come back and hit the cable. Others have limb stops that come around and hit the limb. This almost feels like a limb stop. It's so rock solid. I couldn't believe it. Some have squishy back walls. I can only compare to the Hoyt I had before. That one you draw back, you get into your anchor, and you could still have a little bit of squeeze, a little bit of sponge there before the bow would go off. Some people like that, some people don't. That's what I got used to, is shooting that first. So going to this and drawing back and having it absolutely rock solid was an incredible difference, and I like that very much. This is a fantastic, fantastic back wall. Unbelievable. Prime's really been known for that though over the years. The fit and finish on these Prime bows are second to none. I will say this without a doubt, you will not find a better bow company that spends the amount of time and effort into their fit and finish. These bows look fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. They're like works of art. This particular color is the grizzly brown with the real tree limbs. Now they have a variety of colors that you can choose from and camo options, or you can mix and match. There is a little bit of a price difference. If you do want to mix and match, you're going to be paying an additional $100 here or there depending on what combination you want, whether it's all solid or all camo or solid and camo. But it's something you can definitely speak to your dealer about. The price. These bows are very competitive. I know throughout the years the prices are always going up with these with all bows, especially as they add more and more technology to them. The Prime bows in Canadian dollars, I can speak in Canadian because I live in Canada. These bows are generally around $1,400, give or take here or there, depending on where you go. And again, if you're getting an additional color or an upgraded color package, you're going to spend an extra $100 on there. So they're around $1,400 before tax. The Shield program. Now, another thing that attracted me to this bow, besides wanting a Prime ever since I got back into archery, Prime offers free strings and cables every 2 years to the original owner of the bow for the life of the bow. So whenever you purchase a Prime, you register it with Prime G5, and they will have your registration number on file, and every 2 years they will send out to your dealer a free set of strings and cables. They also offer a free tune-up for the first 6 months that you own the bow, which is pretty awesome. I know for me it didn't take me long. It took me maybe 1 or 2 arrows to get this thing shooting incredibly, and yeah, it's just been a very positive experience all around with the Prime for me. So to go over the cons, which there are very little, this is more of a bow, not a bow specific or a company specific con, but it seems to me that I don't know what's going on with these bow manufacturers, why they can't put screws in their bows that don't rust. I've had a couple occasions with my Hoyt and Some with this one, I believe, where there has been some rust that starts to form. We are outside, we are hunting in the woods, we are going to be in the rain, in the snow, various types of environments, and I just wish that these companies would smarten up and start putting a little better screws inside that maybe don't rust, because that would be pretty awesome. So that's not necessarily Prime specific. One thing that has come up over time, over different reviews and different things, people are complaining about the noise. Primes make more noise than other bows on the market. I did notice from shooting this and shooting my Hoyt that there is a slight difference in the noise. The Prime is slightly louder than the Hoyt that I have. Is it to the point where it's annoying and I don't want to shoot it? No. Is it going to cause me problems in the field where I might not get an animal? No, I don't think that at all. I think that it's just, there's more real estate up here with the dual track cams, with the screws for the rotating modules, with everything combined and all the parts here. There's more moving parts on this than there are on other bows, so naturally it will be slightly louder. It is not to the point where, for me anyway, that I would not shoot this bow because of the difference. I was recording a video with the Prime and the Hoyt side by side, and I used a decibel meter app. Now, it was an app on the phone, it's not a full-blown decibel meter. I was outside, the wind was not very strong, and the difference in decibels between the Prime and the Hoyt were minimal. It was about, I think, 3. Like, I believe the Hoyt came in at 73 and this one was 76. So you're not talking a huge difference in noise. It might be slightly louder, but it's not to the point where it's going to cause you a problem. Again, this all comes down to personal preference and what you want in your setup. I am incredibly happy with this purchase. I would buy another Prime. I'd buy Prime over and over and over again. But again, that's for me. I urge you to go to your local shops, shoot as much as you can get your hands on, find what brand fits you the best. Again, like I said, some people love Matthews, some people love Hoyt, some people love Prime, PSE, whatever it is. Everybody will find what works for them. For me, this is it. This is the best bow that I've ever shot. Now again, like I said, I don't have a lot of experience shooting various bows. I have only shot at one other company. But in terms of picking up bows in the shop and seeing what fits right, this is definitely one that fits me very well, and I shoot very well with it. One other con that can be looked at as a con is brace height. So this is a 6-inch brace height, and my other experience is shooting a bow that's 6.5 or 6 1/4. I think it's 6.5-inch brace height. The 6.5-inch brace height is going to be more forgiving than a 6-inch. And what I mean by that is if you have the slightest bit of torque in your shot, or you're not on your game that day, you're going to have some issues downrange. Because of the shorter brace height, the time on the string is lower, so any smaller mistake in your hand, whether it's positioning or if you're torquing the bow one way or the other, is going to be felt a lot easier downrange. So again, all that means is that you need to just practice and practice and practice and pay attention to your technique and your shot and improve and stay the best that you can. Again, that's not really a knock on Prime specific, because there are bows of various brace heights, but in the future, I think I'm going to try. I think the inlines that are out now, there's the 6-inch brace height and the 6.5. I may lean more towards the 6.5 in the future, just to see if there is a significant difference or not. But again, I am incredibly accurate with this bow. I find I'm more accurate with this than I am with the Hoyt, and I'm extremely happy that I picked up a Prime. So get down to your local shop, try everything that you can, and if Prime is for you, I don't think you will be disappointed.
Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, share them with your friends, and let me know what you'd like to see next.